Pooh Shiesty was just caught explicitly violating his parole terms on a live video stream, and the entire incident was recorded for federal authorities to review. I'm referring to a crucial phone call from his parole officer that revealed everything.
Hello?
Yeah, you there?
Trey Williams, yeah, I'm at the house. You said what? Yes, I am. Yes, I am, man. Check it good. I ain't lying to you. I ain't playing no game.
You can mute the joint right now, Trey.
I don't play like that.
He immediately attempted to conceal what happened, but it was already too late to stop the damage. This specific type of infraction could result in him being returned directly to federal prison. Seriously, I will meticulously detail everything, from how this event unfolded to its implications, and whether the authorities are truly preparing to send him back. So, relax and let me explain this whole situation, because what you are about to hear is absolutely insane, everyone. So, pay attention. Pooh Shiesty was simply hanging out on a live stream with Bandman Kivo, conducting his usual routine, interacting with his supporters, and being candid with his audience. Everything appeared routine until his phone began ringing. Initially, no one considered it important. Rappers constantly receive calls during live streams, correct? But this was no ordinary call, family. This was his parole officer contacting him for a compliance check. Now, this is where the story gets unbelievable. The parole officer informed Pooh Shiesty that she could see he was actively streaming and that she was calling because it was past his mandated curfew. She required confirmation that he was physically at home where he was supposed to be. And what was Pooh Shiesty's response? He flat out lied to his PO, asserting repeatedly, "Yeah, I'm at the house."
Yeah, you there?
Trey Williams, yeah, I'm at the house.
Yet here's the detail that has everyone talking. The live stream was displaying something completely different. The camera was clearly positioned nowhere near his actual residence. It was evident they were located somewhere else entirely. When the cameraman recognized the unfolding situation, he tried to reposition the camera and mute the sound after Pooh Shiesty instructed him to. But by then, it was already too late to intervene. Truthfully, the damage was irreversible. Every word Pooh Shiesty spoke to his parole officer was captured on video. And now, there is visual proof of him deliberately lying to federal officials regarding his location during a curfew check. That is precisely the kind of violation that can lead to immediate incarceration without any further deliberation. Let me explain just how grave this predicament genuinely is. Pooh Shiesty is not merely on standard state probation. He is on federal supervised release after serving 4 years inside a federal facility. When dealing with federal authorities, they do not treat violations lightly. Unlike potential state agencies, these individuals will revoke your release and send you back to complete your original sentence without a second thought. The feds have wanted Pooh Shiesty back behind bars ever since his early release. There has been widespread speculation regarding how he managed to reduce his sentence by over a year, with some rumors suggesting cooperation and others attributing it to the First Step Act. But regardless of the means of his release, the federal authorities are constantly scrutinizing his actions, anticipating a mistake. And guess what? He just handed them precisely what they desired. A clear, video-documented breach of his supervised release stipulations, captured for the entire world to witness. This is not a situation based on conflicting accounts requiring witnesses or needing a case to be constructed. The evidence is directly visible in the video footage. Now, let me clarify something many people misunderstand about Pooh Shiesty's current circumstances. He is currently residing in a halfway house situated in Dallas, Texas, meaning he remains technically under federal custody. He is not completely free as people might assume. The halfway house serves as a transition center where federal inmates spend the final segment of their sentence before achieving full release. These facilities enforce stringent regulations, and curfew is one of the most critical. Residents must return to the facility by a specific hour each night and are subject to random checks to guarantee compliance. When Pooh Shiesty's parole officer called during that stream, she was performing her mandated duty, confirming he was at his required location during curfew hours. But instead of being at the halfway house as required, Pooh Shiesty was out elsewhere, streaming alongside Bandman Kivo. When confronted, he chose to deceive rather than acknowledge he was breaching his curfew. That constitutes a double infraction right there. Being out after curfew and lying to federal officials about it. The ironic part is that they did return home after the call, but that does not undo the damage that had already occurred. The violation had already taken place, and it was already visually recorded. Returning home after the fact does not erase the proof of the initial breach. This live stream event is not an isolated incident, family. Since Pooh Shiesty returned from federal prison, he has been acting carelessly in ways that suggest he has no concern about returning. We are talking about someone who endured 4 years confined in a federal prison, received an early release, and immediately began behaving as if he learned absolutely nothing from the ordeal. He has been uploading clips of himself consuming alcohol while driving, speeding without a valid license, and generally acting in ways that violate the terms of his supervised release. And now we have this streaming event where he is caught misleading his parole officer about his location during a curfew verification. It's as though Pooh Shiesty is actively attempting to violate his terms and be sent back to prison. There is no other logical explanation for this level of extreme carelessness. You don't survive 4 years in a federal prison only to come home and instantly start disregarding the rules intended to keep you free. Federal authorities have multiple motivations for wanting to see Pooh Shiesty back in custody. Firstly, there is the lingering controversy surrounding how he managed to secure early release initially. Some street sources claim he cooperated, while his attorney insists it was due to First Step Act credits. In either scenario, unanswered questions remain about his early departure. Secondly, Pooh Shiesty represents a specific type of legal case that the feds often use to make examples. He is a high-profile musician who is implicated in serious federal offenses, and his conduct since being released makes him appear unreformed. The feds could leverage his case to argue, see, this is precisely why we must be stricter on supervised release violations. Thirdly, every violation Pooh Shiesty commits while on supervised release reflects poorly on the federal system itself. They granted him early release and now he is acting as if the regulations do not apply to him. That is an embarrassment for the officials who sanctioned his early release, and they need to demonstrate that there are firm consequences for violating supervised release conditions. What is particularly troubling about Pooh Shiesty's conduct is that it displays a completely self-destructive mentality. This is a person acting as if he is unconcerned about the results of his actions, as if returning to prison is insignificant to him. Perhaps 4 years in federal prison fundamentally damaged him mentally. Maybe he returned feeling that he already forfeited the best years of his life, so a few more years locked up makes no difference. Or perhaps he is attempting to prove a point to the streets, demonstrating that he is unafraid of returning to confinement. Whatever the motivation, the outcome remains the same. Pooh Shiesty is acting like someone prepared to discard his freedom, ready to be sent right back into federal custody. And this streaming event might be the specific violation that finally sends him back. From a judicial perspective, what occurred on that live stream is incredibly detrimental to Pooh Shiesty's defense. Federal prosecutors now possess video proof of him breaking his curfew and lying to his parole officer about it. That represents 2 distinct violations, and either one could be sufficient grounds to revoke his supervised release. When an individual on federal supervised release violates the terms, they do not receive a minor sanction. They are sent back to prison to serve out the remainder of their original term. In Pooh Shiesty's circumstance, that could mean returning to federal prison until his original release date, which was scheduled for sometime in 2026. The video evidence makes fighting this case nearly impossible. Pooh Shiesty's legal representative cannot claim he was at home during curfew when video footage clearly contradicts that. They cannot assert he was truthful with his parole officer when his exact words are on record. The evidence is transparent and irrefutable, beyond the legal ramifications. This incident is also damaging Pooh Shiesty's career prospects. Which record company would want to invest in an artist who is actively violating the terms of his supervised release? What promoter would risk booking someone who might be back in prison next month? Pooh Shiesty had considerable momentum before his incarceration. He was one of the hottest emerging rappers in the industry, signed to Gucci Mane's label, and producing hit songs. But now, his irresponsible behavior is making him virtually untouchable within the industry. No one wants to engage in business with someone who poses this level of liability. The most unfortunate aspect of this entire ordeal is that it represents a completely squandered chance. Pooh Shiesty gained an early release from federal prison, a rare occurrence. He had the opportunity to reconstruct his life and musical career, to show that he had learned from his past mistakes and intended to behave differently. Instead, he chose to act recklessly, to behave as if the rules did not apply to him, and to lie to federal authorities on a live stream for the entire world to observe. He is carelessly throwing away a second opportunity that many people never receive. So, what is likely to happen next? Well, federal authorities now have clear evidence of Pooh Shiesty violating his supervised release. They are able to use this video to generate a violation report and have him returned to custody. The typical process involves the parole officer submitting a report documenting the violation, A warrant is then issued for his arrest, and he is presented before a federal judge for a violation hearing. At that hearing, the judge will determine whether to revoke his supervised release and send him back to prison. Given the undeniable evidence in this instance, it is difficult to see how Pooh Shiesty avoids returning to federal custody. The video shows him violating curfew and being untruthful with his parole officer. That is exactly the type of conduct that results in the revocation of supervised release. The broader perspective is that this whole situation is larger than just Pooh Shiesty. It stands as a cautionary lesson about what occurs when people fail to learn from their errors, when they believe they can outsmart the legal system, and when they act carelessly instead of wisely. Pooh Shiesty had everything to gain by adhering to the rules of his supervised release and everything to lose by violating them. Yet, he chose to act like someone unconcerned with the consequences. And now, he will likely bear the cost. Ultimately, Pooh Shiesty was recorded on video violating his parole. There is truly no way to favorably spin this situation. The evidence is unmistakable, the violation is confirmed, and the repercussions are likely to be severe. This is what happens when you do not respect a system that granted you a second chance. Pooh Shiesty returned from federal prison and opted to act as if he learned nothing from his 4 years behind bars. Now, he will likely find himself exactly where he started, serving the remainder of his original sentence in federal custody. What are your opinions on this situation? Leave your comments below and let me know if you believe Pooh Shiesty will have his release revoked and be sent back to prison. Because from my perspective, it appears he just self-sabotaged on the live stream, and the federal authorities have all the necessary evidence to put him right back behind bars.